Tim Petrowich here for Dateline Marion with Marion head football coach Kerry Martin. And we say this every year, but we are heading into week 6. There's already been 5 weeks. The season is more than half over, almost 2/3 over. It will be by the end of Friday night. How does it go so fast?
I don't know. It's so busy as a coach. You really don't have much time off. I think games Friday, film Saturday. You get a little bit of Saturday off. Sunday you go back to work and scouting report, and it just kind of rolls over each other one day after another. Lower level games, practices. I guess there's no time to ever sit and just be idle and think about anything, and it just goes fast to me. I don't know how it feels to the fans, but I get a lot of comments from people all the time about how fast the season's going, and it's amazing how much work goes in. And we start off-season workouts in December. And this little block of time, this 9-week schedule, regular season schedule, hits and just flies by.
Now, thinking back to the beginning of the season, as quickly as it's gone, it's still been 5+ weeks of the regular season. Right. And this team has gone a long distance in 5 weeks. They've taken great strides in how they've played the game.
We were struggling the first couple of weeks, and I think the quality of our opponents had something to do with that. But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that we just weren't playing very well. And it brings to mind maybe some things we need to do next year in preparation for weeks 1 and 2 differently. But the slow start, was one thing, but we have played well lately, and we want to keep that going. We know it's a week-by-week proposition in the South 7, Centralia and Althoff still loom on the schedule, the conference-wise, the next 2 weeks, and then Carbondale's a homecoming game, and they're always a rival game with us. Ending with Rich South, week 9, we couldn't tell you a thing about them right now. So there's some knowns, and I know the next 3 conference games will be tough. There's some unknowns at week 9, so the old coaching cliche of taking it 1 week at a time is true, because every week in the South 7 is a battle, and Althoff will be no different.
What we've noticed, or what I've noticed anyway, is that when the team struggled early, especially offensively, you were fairly one-dimensional. And it wasn't that you didn't have the ability to throw the ball, but Isaac was still growing into the quarterback position, and some things, some mistakes that he was making. He's corrected those. In the last 2 weeks, I don't know exactly, but he's completed nearly 80% of his passes. He's thrown some really nice balls, and in the 42-33 win over Mount Vernon last Friday night, he threw especially 2 of the touchdown passes he threw to Hunter Lincoln were wild passes.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see us getting the ball down the field too. We got a vertical stretch in the offense that you want to have, because that makes it a little more difficult to defend. It does dictate some coverage changes for people when they see that you can stretch the field vertically, and so we're glad to see that. We got guys getting downfield, getting open, making catches. Some problems in the passing game early. We had a lot of drop balls too. We had some touchdown opportunities at Centennial and didn't catch the ball, and we're now making those catches. And hopefully this week Brandon Osborne returns to practice as of Tuesday of the week. So that's always a plus to get what came into the season as being our top receiver back from last year's back again. So with the development of Seth Bear, DeRay, and Hunter Lincoln, and Zach Nave, we've developed a decent receiver core that I think is can spread the field out horizontally and also vertically, so that's a good thing.
Well, one of the things we saw Friday night in the game, first of all, you used the passing game to open up the running game, because it's a game where on you're able to run a little bit with Ziegler, and Isaac got some nice runs, and Xavier got a couple of nice runs in there too, Bradshaw. So you're able to spread the ball, but get the running game going by developing the passing game.
Yeah, you're right. That was kind of the game plan. We felt like Mount Vernon was pretty tough on defense against the run, and we wanted to try to spread the field out and take advantage of some mismatches there, and so we did try to attack the passing game a little bit to open up the run, and exactly like you said, and unfortunately it worked out. We made the throws, we made the catches, we got the protection from the guys up front, and it's nice to see a game plan kind of turn out the way you want it to, and it's always the case. Sometimes you got to go to plan B and plan C, and I just was real happy with the kids, the way they executed what we worked on all week long.
A couple of key plays in the game, turning points in the game. We'll talk about them individually. First of all, in the first quarter, you kick off to Mount Vernon. They march right down the field with relative ease and score. Reeves really had you kind of messed up with the quarter, the option, and things like that. You come back and score and tie the game, and then turn around and recover a fumble on the kickoff and got another score and really shifted momentum there in the first half when it could have gone against you.
Yeah, special teams can do that, and special teams is a huge determiner of field position and momentum, and I think in our case, getting that recovery was huge, getting the ball back in the end zone, getting a lead against a team that wanted to occupy the clock, drive the football, keep our offense off the field. It's a big break.
And then you talk about them wanting to occupy the clock. They got you to turn the ball over on your first possession of the third quarter.
Yeah.
They ran quite a bit of that third quarter clock out to score a touchdown to take the lead, 25-21 at that point. Part of their game plan, Coach Shaner said that was exactly what they wanted to do. And then they had you backed up to end the third quarter, 3rd and 23. And then you got the big pass from Isaac to Hunter Lincoln that, Hunter was probably 10 yards behind the defense when he caught the ball, perfectly thrown ball.
Yeah.
Huge play for you, goes for a 69-yard touchdown, and really, again, swings the momentum in your favor.
Yeah, it did. I think the screen pass to Ziggy was a big conversion for us. The long pass to Hunter was a big conversion for us. And I can't leave out the timely throws, the timing throws that he made to DeRay Andrews. DeRay made some big catches. I think 1 or 2 were on 4th down, 1 was on 3rd down. They were clutch catches in traffic.
We talked about that after the game Friday night too. That they're not. It's not stats that are going to jump out at you, but they were in such key times of the game.
They were big catches, clutch catches against decent coverage. Like one time I hit him over the middle on a 4th and something. I don't know what, 4th and 6 or so. We hit it for about an 8 or 10 yard gain. And one time he caught the ball, broke a tackle, and made it upfield. And those were big plays for us. And like you said, you don't look at the box score and see those. You don't see the scoring summary, but they were huge plays for us.
Althoff this week, you're up in Belleville, and this is a game that some of these games have really been strange. I remember back to the game where you scored twice in the last couple minutes, back when Matt Brown was the quarterback, and he actually caught a pass for a touchdown. Right. That you rallied to win that game. Some games where I think last year you rallied to win the game as well. You went up there once, and it was a real close game. You got a 95-yard or 90-yard fumble return for a touchdown. So some strange things happened in this game. I would expect nothing different.
Yeah, we've had some great battles. We had a ball game here one night that was a really low-scoring game, and I think Torrance Stanley returned a punt for a touchdown to be maybe our only offensive score or score of the night. But we've had some really close battles. Some of them high-scoring, some of them low-scoring. They've come in all shapes and sizes. When I watch them on film, I think they're outside of Centennial, they're the best team on film that we've played. They are big, they are physical, they've got good skilled kids. I think it ought to be a great game.
They've had some issues with giving the ball up. They had some turnovers against Mount Vernon that almost cost them the game. They always seem to make the right play at the right time, though. Last week, again, another close game with Centralia. They just seem to, they struggle at times, but at the right time they make the right play.
Great program, storied tradition. Their previous head coach to Coach Turner won over 200 ball games, Glenn Schott. Coach Turner's taken over the last 7 years or so and just done a great job taking them to the title game 2 years ago in Class 2A. So they believe they're winners. They have a tradition of winning, and that's a great program to go up against. It's a beautiful stadium. I love to play there. Our kids like to play at that stadium. It's a good surface, though it's an odd color. It's a good surface. And it's an exciting night. It's a great place if you're a fan to see the game from. It's got almost a stadium feel to it on all sides. And so we're looking forward to going up there and having a go at them.
One of the things that they traditionally can do, and part of the reason they're ranked in Class 4A this year, is they can mix it up. They run the ball, they throw the ball, they do a little bit of both, and it makes it harder for them to cover.
It does. They have a nice balance. With some of the teams we played this year didn't have a lot of balance. They do. They can run it, they can throw it, they've got weapons, they've got speed, they've got size. They're a very well-rounded football team. I think, and again, it's the kind of ball game that's going to take a real strong effort on our behalf in all phases of the game, because this game has come down to special teams before, as I mentioned with Torrance punt return. So it may come down to something like that. It may come down to extra points. It may come down to turnovers, as you mentioned earlier. So it's a ball game that ought to be a real battle for 4 quarters.
This is a game that between right now the 2 teams who are unbeaten in the South 7 Conference. All the other teams have at least one loss in conference play. Is it really too early because of how close this conference is? Is it maybe too early to say this is a battle for the conference championship?
Well, with Centray and Carbondale still out there for us, and I mean it's early, but certainly it puts you in a much better position. I don't know if breathing room's the right word, but it gives you at least a little wiggle room if you beat Althoff that you don't have. If we don't beat Althoff, we're going to need help. If we beat Althoff, we kind of control our own destiny. And you want to be in a situation where you control your own destiny. And for them, beating us puts them in the driver's seat. They don't need any help. They can win out and they're good. They lose to us, then they need help. And so, you hate to be in that situation where you need help from somebody else. You want to be able to just keep winning ball games and take care of business.
Go back to the conclusion of your Week 2 game against Centennial, and you look at your team, you're 0-2. There's a lot of places where you've got big question marks. 3 weeks later, did you envision yourself being in a position where you're talking about having a leg up on the rest of the South 7 Conference?
Well, I knew we could be a better football team. I mean, I knew that talent was there. I knew that we had the pieces of the puzzle. They just weren't performing right, and so it isn't a shock to me that they came out of that. I think they jumped to a pretty high level of play the last 3 weeks that I thought it might take us longer to get here than it did. So I don't know. I just feel like they made a decision after the Centennial game, probably on the Thursday of the next week, because I threw them out of practice on Wednesday of the week of Harrisburg, to be honest. And on Thursday of that week, the day of pregame, we went a full pad practice on pregame, which we never do. And I feel like from that moment, they've been a different football team, a better football team, a more focused football team. Come to find out, our problems, Tim, the first 2 weeks were more mental than they were physical. We weren't focused, we weren't prepared, we weren't practicing very well. Thank goodness, as of right now, we are practicing better, and it's showing on the field. We seem more focused. We're paying attention to film. We're just more engaged in what's going on. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing now that we weren't doing before.
And that was one of the things you mentioned a couple of times early in the season, that there were some practices where you really weren't sure where this team was headed.
No, I wasn't. I mean, I felt like we were at a crossroads of having kind of a rebuilding season, or having a season where we could make some noise and try to continue some postseason play. But as quickly as we improve, you don't want to take any steps back. And we're always, as a coach, paranoid that we're not going to get better. We've got to continue getting better. That's the key, because Althoff's going to keep getting better. Centray's going to keep getting better. We've got to make sure we're improving with the rest of the conference so that we're finishing on a strong note.
And we touched on this a little bit last week. How much of that improvement do you think is the maturity of especially the younger players? Because we talked about how many sophomores and juniors you have who were in there quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. We've got, off the top of my head, at least 3 sophomores starting right now. And that's a pretty good sign for the future, but it's also
now
a maturation process. They've got to mature right now. And several juniors are getting a lot of playing time, including our quarterback and our starting tailback. And outside of our receiver core, our offense is actually very young. Our receiver core is a little older. On defense, we have some young guys at linebacker, some young guys at defensive line. So there is a lot of youth out there, but I think that youth is now in its week 6 of the season. They're no longer young players. I told several of them the other day, I said, you're no longer a sophomore football player. You've got 5 varsity games under your belt. You are truly a varsity player, and it's time to now go to another level. And so if we can get more kids on our team going to another level right now, week 6, 7, 8, and 9, we're going to be where we want to be. If we just kind of stay where we're at, happy with Cahokia, happy with Mount Vernon, happy with Harrisburg, we could be in some trouble. So the push this week in practice will be to move kids to another level of performance.
Althoff was a 2-hour trip, but after what you've had so far, this is nothing. It's the second shortest trip of the year.
It is. It's kind of funny. It's how far it seemed a while back, but after going to back-to-back trips to Champaign, we're okay with it. We as I said, we play very well there. We're comfortable there. It's a beautiful facility and worthy opponents, so it ought to be a great night.
All right, Kerry Martin's our guest. He's the head coach of the Marion Wildcats. For Dateline Marion, I'm Tim Petrowich.